there has been something that I have been wanting to talk about for a little while now, and it's the whole tradwife situation and trend. If you don't know, I actually was an accidental tradwife. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about my mom, who was a stay-at-home wife mom my entire life. This girl a mess, y'all. Hi guys, welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been around here a while. I'm Kendra, this is 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐬 𝐓𝐡𝐞. This is where I share my life with you guys. I talk about other stuff too, so if that stuff sounds good to you, then make sure you are subscribed to my channel. Also go ahead and like this video while you are at it. So there has been a lot of controversy surrounding the whole trad wife or traditional wife role here on social media. And if you don't know what a trad wife is, basically it's a traditional wife that stays at home, doesn't work, raises the kids, and takes care of everything around the house. Now, that can be done a myriad of ways. There's actually a creator on TikTok named 𝐒𝐻𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐬, and she's considered a trad wife, and she gets a lot of backlash because she like cooks from scratch, and you know, she always looks very kempt and beautiful, and she's also a particular faith. I believe she's affiliated with Mormonism. I'm not sure. I don't really know. But she has received a lot of criticism from her just being on the internet and showing how it's done. And I think a lot of people are concerned with the way that it looks because it isn't real. And so I want to talk about me becoming an accidental trad wife. So I've pretty much worked my entire life. I had my first job when I was like 17. I worked at Dollar Tree. And from then on, I've pretty much been working my entire life. And I didn't get married until later on in life. How was I when I got married? I probably should know how old I was when I got married. I was 34 when I got married. Or was I 33? Anyways, I was like a middle-aged woman, I guess, when I got married, and I was pretty well established. At that time, I was a homeowner. I had a master's degree. I was deep into my professional career, and I got married. And then I moved to Chicago, and I continued still working in my career. And I got pregnant a little less than a year into my marriage, and I wanted to do it quickly because I was getting older and I love my husband. In hindsight, and you know, hindsight is 20/20, I should have waited because it was honestly nothing like I expected. It was a lot more difficult. And when you've pretty much like set goals for yourself and you've been kind of an overachiever and you've excelled a lot in the things that you've done, you're like, oh, mom, I got this. In fact, I do not have this. Someone come help, please. But in my mind, I thought it was gonna be all good. And, you know, I would say my pregnancy was pretty textbook. I had my baby during the middle of the pandemic. Who could have thought about that or prepared, you know, me for that? I literally found out I was pregnant in India in October of 2019. I can just, oh my God, remember that day. It was so beautiful and so wonderful. And it was funny because I remember us packing up and getting ready to go. And I was packing up all my things and all my stuff or whatever. And I was putting like a bag of pads in the suitcase. And my husband was like, you're not gonna need those. And he already knew, we knew, because we had been trying. And we found out, and I had my baby in the summer of 2020. And I feel like everything just popped into place the way it was supposed to go. So after I had my baby, it was crazy because my last day of work was gonna actually be on a Friday. And I actually went into labor on Friday. And I thought it was just like Braxton Hicks, and it was not. Saturday came around and I full on felt it. I was like, oh my God, I'm in labor. Oh my God. And you know what I did? I went back to sleep. So by the time I woke up again, I called the hospital. I informed them that I'd be on my way. We had already had a bag packed because I think maybe like that Wednesday or Thursday of that week, I had packed up because I thought I was in labor then, because I was kind of, I thought I was maybe like leaking fluid or whatever, but false alarm. And I had my baby on a Saturday, and by Monday I brought him home. And so I was on leave from work, and they had informed me that my position had been eliminated. And it kind of came as a relief to me because I didn't have plans on going back to work because I didn't like that job. I was eventually gonna go back to work, but I was gonna find a different job. So once they told me my position had been eliminated, I was like, okay, so I can apply for unemployment. And apply for unemployment I did. I also had this disability insurance or what plan that I had through my job. So I got paid 6 weeks of disability from that plan that I had purchased from my job. And then I also received unemployment for however long that term was. And while all of that was going on, I was throwing my hand into the ring and I was looking at different positions. But I wasn't really too concerned about going back to work because I was with my baby and I wanted to be with him. But I went through awful postpartum. And so this is how I became an accidental tradwife. I stayed at home, I took care of my baby, and I took care of the home. And being a stay-at-home mom is probably one of the most isolating things you can do because you are all day home alone with a baby. They can't talk. They can't hold a conversation. They can entertain you somewhat. They definitely keep you busy. But I was very isolated. I had postpartum depression. I had no family here. And I didn't know what I was doing. I felt very inept. And I've never felt that way before. I feel very incompetent. I felt out of my realm. I knew how to cook, I knew how to clean, I knew how to do all these things, but it was extremely overwhelming with a child. And I would probably say a year into it, I hated it. I hated it. I hated it with all my might. But one thing that I feel as though I did that a lot of trad wives don't do is I kept up with my employment. So although I've always had like a full-time job for the last, since 2018, I had also had one of many little side hustles. And so one of them was adjunct teaching. So I taught online classes here and there for a university. And so that was one of the things that I did to keep my mind stimulated because, I mean, I had to at that point. So I didn't lose it, right? And it brought me joy. It really did because I liked working. And I mean, I feel like education kind of like is my calling. I don't know. We'll see about that. But yeah, so that is one thing that I did do. So I kept my skills up, so I really didn't technically have like a gap in my resume. And I continued with doing that and making a little money that I stashed away on the side. And many of the women do not do that. But to just kind of summarize my situation, my baby was about 1 year and 9 months when I did finally go back to work. Because I hated being at home. I hated being isolated. I hate looking a mess all the time. I hated feeling the way that I felt. I feel like I didn't get outside enough. I feel like I didn't have a social life. I feel like all I was just a glorified all I felt like I was glorified help. I took care of a baby, I cooked and I cleaned. That was not my idea of being a wife or being a mother. And I hated it. Some women love it. That's fine, if that's what you want to do. But I didn't like it at all. And I went back to work and now I'm fine. But let's talk about my mom. So my mom was also a stay-at-home wife, mom, whatever, all her life. She literally never worked. She would sometimes get a job. She wouldn't keep it for very long. I think maybe my whole life knowing her to have like maybe 3 jobs that I know of. And she didn't keep them very long. I think it was just like, oh, she got bored around the house. She wanted something to do or whatever. Or maybe she wanted some extra spending money. I don't know. But if you guys don't know, my dad, he passed away in December of 2023, last year. And they were married over 43 years. Yeah, they were married over 43 years. And my dad and my mom got married to my dad when she was very young. She was in her early 20s. And at the time, she was a single mom. She had my oldest sister when she was a teenager. And my dad was in the military. And he felt like it was his role to provide financially for the family. And that was one thing that he told her, that as long as you take care of the kids, take care of the home, you don't have to work if you don't want to. And that was the way that it was all my life. And she didn't work. And I haven't had any in-depth personal conversations about her satisfaction with being a trad wife, but I can tell you that she was over it as she got older. So as my dad aged, he did have a lot of health problems and she was his main caretaker. And this is one thing about my mom that I will always praise her for, about how she was always a caretaker. She took care of her mother before she passed away, and she had Alzheimer's. And she took care of my father before he passed away. And she always took care of other people. And I don't really think that she really took the time to take care of herself. And it was a very telling statement that came from my oldest sister. My oldest sister had talked to my mom. She calls my mom at least once a week, once or twice a week, more like twice a week, I think now. And she recently visited her and went to church with her and all that stuff. She lives much closer to my mom than I do. And she made a statement to me, and she was talking about how she had so much time on her hands and she didn't know what she was gonna do. And my mom told her, she was like, I've been waiting for this moment over 40 years. And it was a telling statement. My mom, as a trad wife, she never had any time for herself. Her time was always consumed with other people. And I think that was one of the realizations that I came to when I was a trad wife, stay-at-home mom for almost 2 years, is that I didn't like that feeling. I did not like having no time to myself. And I think this is what a lot of child-free people get a lot of flack for being selfish. And I think that you as a person and as an individual should have some level of selfishness, because honestly, you need that to maintain your sanity. You need me time. You need time to yourself to do the things that you like to do so that you do not lose yourself in the process of being a wife, a mom, or even anything, being an employee. You have to have some kind of downtime, some kind of time for yourself. Otherwise, you are going to get burned out. You see on the news about people harming their children or harming themselves, and you're like, I don't understand how anyone could do this. But you get to a point where you are burned out and your mental health has taken a nosedive. You don't have any outside help or assistance, and you're questioning your sanity at that moment. And it is because of the burnout that being a mom, a wife, an employee, you know, a good friend, all of these things, all of these responsibilities that you have to take care of, they're compounding. And you just don't have enough time for yourself. So I appreciated the time that I got back to myself. You know, I was able to get a lot of time back to myself because of not being at home. And I know this sounds so crazy, but I did. And I got into a good routine of going to work immediately after the work, go to gym. My baby is with a caretaker, so I get a little time to myself to do the things that I want to do. Or my baby is with his dad, so they have time together and I'm by myself doing what I need to do. And I highly suggest that if anyone wants to be a trad wife or a stay-at-home mom or even a working mom, you need to realize that when you bring a child into the world, yes, they are your responsibility and you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to make sure that they are taken care of. You also have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So I challenge you, before you have children or you decide that you want to be a stay-at-home mom or traditional housewife or whatever you want to call it, I just want you guys to take these things into consideration. The first thing I feel like you should take into consideration is your savings. Do you have enough savings if something goes on, if something goes wrong, if someone gets sick, especially if you are a trad wife? You need to have a cut and run fund. A secret stash, but you don't have to make it a secret. And I wouldn't advise you to make it a secret. If you are marrying someone and they do not want you to have a stash of your own as a woman that has zero income, that is a red flag. And you should probably not be with that man because he does not support you in you taking care of yourself and looking after yourself. Because in that viral video of that trad wife whose husband left her and she didn't have a penny to her name, she made the statement she could not fathom that her ability to eat and have a roof over her head was if a man loved her or not. And that is the sad reality. Another thing I feel like you guys should take into account, if you are with someone and you have zero income and you are taking care of the home, is that your spouse, mate, husband, whoever provides an income for you. So you should have some type of allowance of some sorts. And that should already be pinned out on how much that's going to be. They should pay you to take care of the house, to cook, to clean, to do these things. And the reason being is because are they going to cook meals? Are they going to clean up also? Are they going to hire outside help? Because if they did that, that would take away from time that they have to themselves, or it would take away money from their pocket to hire those things out. And if you count up all the hours that a stay-at-home mom or trad wife or whatever spends doing those things, it is way more than the 40 or maybe even 50 or sometimes even 60 hours a week that someone working outside the home works. And remember, people that work outside of the home, they get health insurance, they get dental insurance, they get sick days, they get vacation days, they get downtime at work, they get retirement benefits, they get social time with coworkers and things like that. They get so many more benefits than someone doing unpaid labor in the house does. Oh, and we're not even going to talk about, they don't have a mile-long gap in their resume. They're continuing keeping up their skills, and they'll probably be hireable, more hireable than you, okay? Also, you need to think about retirement. You need to think about retirement. While you may be in a marriage that continues on, like my mom, and, you know, you can draw your spouse's social security or whatever, but if you've never worked and you split up, what kind of retirement do you have? You can get, from my understanding, and please do not take this as investment advice because I don't know nothing about investing, but I'm under the impression, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if you know more about investment, sound off in the comments. A Roth IRA, which is after-tax money. So your husband who is working, and I'm saying husband, that's so traditional, but your spouse, your mate, whomever, they can contribute, I believe for the year 2024 is $7,000 a year for your retirement. And if you think about it, $7,000 a year for your retirement in 10 years, that is what? $70,000. So that's a pretty good chunk. And think about if that is compounding interest, you will be, you know, have something to at least live on, or at least have something to draw from if you do split up. You know, you'll take a penalty or whatever, but it'll be something there. Okay, so these are some things that you need to take into account. And then my last thing that I feel like we should take into account is help. If you do not live close to family, or your family doesn't want to help you, you need to take that into account, because some family does not help with the kids. Some family do not take the kids for date nights. I don't live close to family. My husband does not live close to family. We literally have zero help. So you have to hire help. So think about hiring babysitters for date nights, because you need to keep that spark going in the marriage, right? You need to keep thinking about hiring, you know, a babysitter or help or whatever, or maybe like a night nurse if you're nursing, and you guys need to get your sleep at night, or continuous help throughout the duration of the early childhood days, and even help around the house. You have to think about, how often are we going to eat out? Am I always going to cook every single day? Are we getting Uber Eats delivered or whatever? And the last thing I wanted to talk about was cleaning duties. You want to decide on if you, as the stay-at-home person, are going to be doing all of the cleaning. Is your partner going to help out with that cleaning? And also, if you are going to get some hired help for that cleaning. Are they going to come in maybe once a month or maybe every other week to come help out? And I think you'd be surprised at how affordable cleaning services are these days. And I have someone that helps me as well, because it's just so busy being a working mom these days. I think that's all, y'all. I just want to make sure that everyone is protecting themselves, and we are not crying on the internet when we are destitute and downtrodden, and we've spent time with someone for years and it is not worked out in our favors. So I'm wishing you guys luck out there, because we all need it these days. Also, continue to spread kindness in a world full of hate. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for watching my video. Bye-bye.